All right, why don't we get started? Thanks for you guys for hanging in there for what's now 7 weeks or 4 weeks rather, 7 or 8 sessions along the way. Hopefully you are starting to get a little bit of a feel both on the court and in the classroom about what it takes to kind of start the refereeing process. Anybody got anything that's on their mind before we start? Today I'm gonna kind of try to go through some of the most missed questions on the quizzes. Admittedly, there's still a whole lot of people that haven't taken very many of the quizzes, but we've kind of gone back and tabulated and seen some of the stuff that there were a bunch of misses on. So I'll hit on some of those. And then we've got 2 last rules to cover, which won't take us too long. And then you're kind of through the rules part, other than finishing quizzes. And then there's a need to take a state-wide test that we kind of will run a session for you to kind of get you through the questions on that test. It's a 40 question test out of a 50 question group, and we know what the test questions are, so we can kind of prep you and help you get through that process as well. Anything that's cropped up along the way that anybody wants to take a crack at, or I can just kind of move forward from here?
I don't have anything.
And I'm not hearing a whole lot.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
Excellent. All right, let me get my screen share here going.
Are we gonna talk about like appropriate? I'm not gonna say like appropriate clothing to wear, but like I know jerseys and like shorts and stuff like that. Like, what about like jewelry and like I'm gonna say like hair types. I had a friend a couple weeks ago who was playing basketball and she couldn't play because she had braids in her hair. So I was just wondering, like, are we gonna talk about what's like appropriate to wear, kind of?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's supposed to be kind of a quote unquote professional look. And so you are wearing a black and white striped jersey.
Oh, I'm talking about for the basketball players.
You're talking about the players themselves?
Yeah.
Ah, well, that is rule 3, which we've come and gone on. But if you've got a specific issue, we can talk about that. There's restrictions on things that go into the hair, like hard objects that could be dangerous to others. But there's nothing specifically that says that you can't have braids and play basketball. And for sure, in this more woke world that we're in these days than perhaps we were even 5 years ago, officials are probably more apt to err on the side of allowing things to be worn from a cultural or religious, et cetera, standpoint than restricting it, unless there's truly an obvious, danger that's associated with wearing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Rule 3. Read up. All right, so today's rule 7 and 8. But before we get to that, we're going to try to hit on some select missed questions. All right, so here's some of the most missed questions. Quiz number 4. There we go. A1 in his backcourt attempts to pass the ball to A2, standing in the front court. A2 fumbles the pass and never establishes player control, and the ball then bounces back to A1, who picks it up the ball while still standing in his backcourt. Has a violation occurred? Anybody want to take a crack at that answer?
Yes.
Yes. Isley says yes. I agree. Yes, we've had a number of people who said otherwise. Whoa. Hang on a sec. Why am I not? There we go. Yes. Rule 4-4 and 9-9. So basically, we talk about the ball having front court status when it touches the front court or it touches something in the front court. So with the ball, when it was passed in the front court and was touched by A2, had front court status. A2 was the last person to touch it in the front court. A1 was the first person to touch it in the back court. Violation. Okay.
So it's a front court status, not a player control thing.
Correct. The ball gets front court status. Again, for quiz 4, this is, quiz 4 was definitions. Number 5, team control ends when the ball is knocked away. Somebody talking there?
Yeah, I was trying to ask, even without clear possession, it's just saying touch. When they're saying touch by reading it, it's not possessing. So the touch, even just by a touch, that's what that is, or
Right. It gains front court status by bouncing on the floor in the front court. At that point in time, it hasn't been touched quite by anybody yet. But so when it's touched by A2, the last person to touch it in the front court is A2, goes back into the back court. Or you can kind of like throw a ball off of your teammate's leg who's standing in the front court. You pick it back up in the back court. That's an over and back violation.
oh, got you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. So I've heard, I don't know if I was the only one, but in reference class, I don't know if it was reference class or in person or here, but I heard that if you dribble the ball past half court with one foot in the front court and the other in the back court, you can still step back and it won't be a violation, right?
True. Right. So dribbling is different from passing. So when you're dribbling, all 3 points, they say, both of your feet and the ball have to be in the front court in order for there to be front court status.
But on a pass, on a loose ball pass, if
On
the
a
ball
pass,
goes,
it's just the ball by itself. But if you're dribbling, both of your feet and the ball have to be in the front court in order for there to be front court status.
okay, gotcha.
Good clarification there. All right, team control ends when the ball is knocked away by a defender and has not been secured by either team. And the answer is? Anybody?
That's true. No?
That's false.
False.
But I appreciate you answering, right? So team control changes when there's a shot where there becomes no team control. Team control ends rather on a shot. As soon as the ball is released, there's no longer team control. Or when the other team secures the ball. So when a ball is kind of rolling on the floor after it has been knocked away from a dribbler, the team control still is with that offensive team, the team that had the ball knocked away from them.
So sorry.
Go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna say, this is why you could have a shot clock violation, even though you don't think that team has control of the ball, but because nobody did, the team control didn't change. Is that right?
Right. That would be a shot clock violation. It would result, if there's a foul on the play, it would be a team control foul as opposed to a common foul where there might be free throws if they're in the bonus situation. Those are probably the 2 places that it's most important. Okay, everybody ready to move on? Okay, quiz number 4 again, number 14. Once a pivot foot has been established, it is traveling violation if that foot is lifted entirely off the floor before the ball is shot or passed. These are all 50-50 chances, so you just take a chance.
False.
So what do you think the rule is?
Once it hits the ground again. So once it leaves and it hits the ground again, it's travel, correct?
Perfect. Love it. Different on a dribble, right? So if the 3 things you can do with the ball is shoot it, pass it, or dribble it. Shooting or passing it, you can lift your pivot foot as long as you don't put it back down again. Dribbling, you have to start your dribble before the pivot foot is lifted. which is why sometimes if you see somebody jump up in the air to take a shot, and they either are bobbling the ball or they're going to get it blocked, and then they try to put the ball on the floor and dribble it instead, it's a violation because they've left the pivot. They've picked the pivot foot up before they started dribbling the ball. Okay. So we're now moving off of quiz 4 to quiz 5. If a player control fouls occurs after the ball is left the shooter's hand, the goal still counts. What do we think?
No.
Player control foul occurs after the ball left the shooter's hand, the goal still counts. Say no, right? We're waving off the goal on a player control foul. And that is absolutely correct. Right? So it matters not whether the player still has the ball in their control or the shot is away. If there's a player control foul, it is the basket does not count.
So when we've seen it happen the other way, is that college, or when does it happen? Like I've seen it.
You haven't seen it happen the other way.
Well, I have seen it. It's just probably a wrong call then, is what you're saying.
Could be.
So maybe I don't understand player control foul. Are we saying the shooter is the player that's in control? Are we talking about two different athletes right now?
Yeah, that's a clarification.
No, the player control is literally the player control is defined as either holding or dribbling the basketball.
Got it.
Holding
or dribbling a live ball, actually, is what it says. But so it's the player who shot the ball, then lets go of the ball and then plows into the defender, creating a foul.
Okay. I don't think I understood the question.
Yeah, because you could have team control foul someone else, right? And then the shot would count, right? If it was after the ball had been released.
We will get to that question right here.
Okay.
In just a moment.
Okay.
All right. If a team requests a timeout and they have no timeouts remaining, they're charged with a technical foul and are not granted the timeout.
I said true. I think the answer is false. If I remember my answer.
So what do we think, Neil? You think it's that what
They
happens?
still get the timeout. They still get the timeout, but it's tech.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah, it basically, I think the rule book kind of says you can keep calling timeouts at the cost of a technical foul.
Oh, so they get the timeout, but they get a technical foul.
Correct.
Oh,
Pretty expensive timeout, but
yeah.
and most of the time these are done by mistake.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Are any of you old enough to remember Chris Webber in Michigan?
Maybe.
I did that exact thing in high school, so I won't forget this rule.
Yeah, exactly. So Chris Webber did it in the championship game where they were out of timeouts, and he called the timeout, and
Oh, that's right.
not good. All right. We're on to quiz 6, live balls and dead ball, live ball and dead ball. A1, A3 and A1 are standing opposite sides of the center restraining circle, awaiting the jump ball. After the referee releases the ball, but prior to either jumper touching it, A1 leaves her position and breaks down the floor. A5 taps the ball to A3, passes it to A1 for an easy basket. Is this legal?
I'm gonna say yes.
It is indeed legal. We talked about players coming onto or around the circle prior to the ball being released, right? So it's like 6-3. It says when the official is ready, until the ball is tossed, non-jumpers shall not move into the circle or change positions around the center circle. And I showed the clip last week where it happened in my game, and I got lucky that the player actually moved into the circle. So this could actually happen even before the ball is released. A player on the circle can leave, and it's legal. Some of these questions that are on these quizzes, and I wrote, I think almost all of these questions, are meant not necessarily for you to be able to get it right, but to give you a little bit of a feel for the things that you're going to need to be thinking about in games. And you won't have it all down the first year or even the second year. But as you keep working through these things and you think about situations like, oh, I wonder if they can do that or not. And you kind of work your way back into whether these things are legal or not. So in this particular instance, it is in fact legal. B2 has started a try for field goal, but has yet to release the shot. This is just what we were talking about. When B3 is whistled for a foul. B2 then releases the shot and the ball goes into the basket. The official rules that the ball is dead when the whistle blows and disallows the shot. Is this ruling correct?
Yes.
Yes.
No, nope.
Oh, come on. No.
I think that's the only time a whistle doesn't make the ball dead, right? Is when they're going up for a try.
Hang on, I actually wrote this wrong. You guys got this right.
Thank you very much.
My bad.
I thought I was going crazy.
In fact, it is the ball becomes dead. So the ball is yet to be released, and his teammate creates a foul. The ball becomes dead. If the other situation occurs where the opposition has the foul and he's in this exact same position, right? Starting a try for field goal, yet to release a shot, but A3 fouls B3. In that situation, we're going to count the goal.
Okay, that makes sense.
So my bad on that one. I wrote that wrong.
I have a question. Let's just say the same situation, same scenario occur, and he's already released the ball and it went in. It counts, but it's just a foul on his teammate, right?
Correct. Ball is away, so you're going to count the basket.
Got you.
All right. B5. I got the answer in here too. So B5 fumbles a rebound and the ball goes directly above A's basket. The ball's on the ring when the horn sounds to end the quarter and then subsequently enters the basket. Is team A credited with 2 points? And I'm guessing most of you will say no to this one. And the reason that you don't count the basket is it's not a shot. So if the shot's away and then the horn goes off, and then the ball goes in, the basket counts. But in this situation, it wasn't a shot. It was sitting up there on the rim. The horn goes off, play is dead at that point in time, and then the ball falls in. And again, once again, this is something that you may not see in 10 years of refereeing. And I clearly don't expect you to be able to know this rule necessarily day one, but it's kind of meant to just have you thinking about the interesting parts of the rules that if you can recall these kind of things in a game, your partners are going to love you, and the coaches are going to appreciate you as well in terms of being able to get the rule right.
But if A1 is battling B1 under, say, A's basket, and they're battling down in the paint, and B ends up like tipping the ball or something and it goes in, that's not a basket for team A?
It is. Okay. But because the game is still going on.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Oh, so the difference then
is the horn sound to stop the quarter before there was a shot.
Okay. That's the difference. Okay.
That's the difference.
All right.
We're on to section 9, so we're almost done here. So quiz 9 is violations, right? So before A1 releases the second of 2 free throws, B5 has both feet touching the free throw lane line. After releasing the shot, but before the try has hit the ring, A2, who's not in the lane line, so he's like above the 3-point line, breaks the plane of the 3-point line trying to rebound the ball. The official had signaled a delayed dead ball against B, but dropped the signal once the try was successful and allowed the play to continue. Is this ruling correct? So again, there's people along the lane line. The defensive player jumps in there early, and then one of the offensive teammates comes in from the 3-point line later. Does the shot count or not?
No.
Protection.
I think I said yes.
There's a moment when you find out.
Because they called the play dead, right? Or did they do the delay?
They just signaled for a delayed dead ball, which is kind of, you would signal and wait until you find out the result of the shot as to whether it goes in or not. But we've had others that kind of have said that in fact
up to 90%.
they should not be allowed to count the basket, right? Count the free throw.
Don't use if you're allergic to drugs before starting. Get checked for tuberculosis. Increased risk of infections and
Somebody's got their TV, radio, something on. We're all learning about TV and we don't need to. Okay, so in this situation, when the first team to violate is the defensive team and the offensive team violates in the lane, like if another player got into the lane too early, you'd ignore that second violation. But the fact that the player came in from the outside and violated, that's when the ball becomes immediately dead. The shot doesn't count. And we would give the ball to team B to resume play. Okay. Okay, quiz fit number 15. A1 is being closely guarded by B2 just over the division line in team A's front court. B2 knocks the ball away. Both players give chase. Is there still team control?
Yes.
Yes. Then, while A1 is still in the team A's front court, the ball hits his elbow or her elbow and rolls into the backcourt where A1 runs back and grabs it. Has a backcourt violation occurred?
Yes.
Good. Right. Last to touch in the front court, first to touch in the backcourt. On to quiz 10. A1 is driving for a layup. B5 is in the lane when the players collide. Both officials blow their whistle, our infamous what we call a blarge, where one gives the preliminary signal of a block and the other official preliminarily indicates it's a player control foul. The try goes in the basket. The officials disallow the score, report fouls on both A1 and B5, and award the ball to team A, who's entitled to the next AP arrow. Is this ruling correct? Anybody want to take a crack?
Yes, it's a double foul. And so it's a possession arrow at that point.
What about the basket?
No basket,
How come?
because the person who made a basket committed a foul.
But is it a player control foul? It's not. You're doing great, right? You're thinking through this really, really well. So it's a double foul, not a player control foul. On a double foul, the ball's going to become dead once the shot has ended. On any foul other than a player control foul, the ball doesn't become dead until the shot ends. So the basket is going to count, and then the ball is going to be given to team B. A was one who scored. Yeah, team B for a throw-in. Both players are going to get fouls called on them.
But the basket counts because why?
Basket counts because it's a double foul, not a player control foul.
Okay. All right.
And to read this, so the reference here particularly is in the case book, which you all have. And if you go to case book 4.19.8, it'll give you that play and kind of give you a little bit more of an explanation. This is something that you could see in your first year because you're out there and you're anxious and you're a little quick with your whistle and you're a little quick with your signal. And, you know, you think you finally got it right on your first block charge call and you go beep, whistle, block, you know, and then you realize that your partner's going beep, charge, and you're like, this is a problem. And to the extent you're able to actually be able to work your way out of it at that point in time and know this rule, kudos.
I have a question about this. Why would you not huddle up with the other official and like quickly talk it over and then just make one call?
So that's a great comment. That is how you do it when you move up a level. At the college level, that's exactly what you do. You basically just go with whose call it should have been, whose primary whistle it should have been. And that official takes it to the table and off you go with the correct call. In high school, we are required to report both fouls, call them a double foul, and adjudicate it this way.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
But you got any other comments there? Okay, well,
The ball goes to the team to team B. That was the team that did not make the shot, right?
correct.
Okay.
All right, let me see. All right, so rule 7, out of bounds and the throw-in. Ball is out of bounds. Some of the stuff is going to seem very basic. Should not be a challenge to you. If the player touches the floor or an object other than a person outside the boundary. So if you saw a player standing in bounds and he reaches out of bounds and he touches his coach, he's not out of bounds. Or if he touches a cameraman or he touches a cheerleader or whatever, he's not out of bounds. If he touches the stands or a chair or whatever, he is out of bounds. So if you touch the floor or an object outside the boundary, you're out of bounds. But if you touch a person out of bounds, you're not out of bounds. And if the ball touches the floor or an object or a person outside the boundary, the ball is clearly out of bounds. Second thing makes total sense. And then if the ball hits supports, ceilings, overhead equipment, shot clock, back of the backboard, the guy wires that sometimes hold up the baskets along the line, those are all considered out of bounds. And then if the ball passes over the backboard, a rectangular backboard, which you don't really see very many fan backboards anymore, in either direction, it's out of bounds. So you've seen some circus shots in the NBA, particularly, where the player's behind the basket and they shoot it over the backboard and it goes in the basket and they count it as a basket, a score. In high school rules, that is considered out of bounds. Are you good with that? Okay, so then what do we do with throw-in locations?
Where the ball came from out of bounds, kind of.
Well, on a violation, we put it in the designated spot nearest the violation. So somebody travels, you put the ball in play near where the travel occurred. When the ball becomes dead, the designated spot nearest to where the ball became dead. For instance, in the case of a timeout, you know, the ball's being dribbled in the back court, the coach is in the front court, the coach calls timeout. You're putting the ball back in play where the ball was when the whistle blew and the play became dead. And then in common fouls or for intentional fouls, nearest where the foul occurred, as opposed to where the ball is. Right. So if you know, playing up the floor and somebody sets an illegal screen on the other side of the floor, the ball comes in where the foul occurred, not where the ball was when the foul occurred. And then for technical fouls at the division line opposite the scorer's table for all technical fouls. These kind of things actually are somewhat important. Coaches and teams learn to run plays from certain parts on the floor. And we, as officials, don't always do the best job in terms of where to put the ball in play. Probably 75, 80 to 85% of the time, it probably doesn't have much of an impact on the game. But 10 or 15% of the time, it might, where they're looking to run a particular play. And from a particular spot on the floor, they're able to run that play. From another spot on the floor, it becomes a little more challenging to run that play. It particularly happens, and we have a couple of clips here, on balls on the end line, where teams get used to bringing the ball, we call it closed down position, right at where the lane line ends and the end line is underneath the basket. They're used to running plays from there. And if the ball goes out of bounds, 3 or 4 feet further away toward the sideline, it's a harder play to run, perhaps. And that's why we try to put the ball in play, where we're supposed to be putting it in play. And then after made goal, anywhere along the end line where you can actually run along the end line or pass it to a teammate out of bounds. So here's a little chart where you can see where the throw should occur. Somebody talking there? Sorry. You can see where if it's within the blue kind of triangle area, including the circle above the free throw line, the throw in comes in at the end line and anywhere along the end line, but nothing inside the free throw lane lines, right? So we don't put the ball in right underneath the basket because we don't want it hitting the backboard and being unable to throw it in correctly. And then anywhere outside that blue area, the ball goes in on the sideline, kind of basically split by the center court. And wherever along the sideline, the ball comes in. So you can put it all the way down in the corner or all the way up to the division line. Pretty good with that? All right, and then you may have already done this on the court, but we'll go through it really quickly here as well in terms of how to do throw-in administration. So we bounce the ball to the thrower, except for on the end line in the front court where we hand the ball to the thrower. So if you're putting the ball in the back court, we bounce the ball to the thrower. If you're putting the ball on the sideline, either in the front court or the back court, we bounce the ball to the thrower. We hand the ball to the thrower on the end line. And the idea of being able to bounce the ball is just to give us a wider angle to be able to see things. And the reason that we hand the ball to the thrower on the end line is just things get very congested in there. We want to make sure there's a good handoff of the ball. Although I could easily make the argument we should be bouncing it there, but we don't. Throw-in starts when the ball's at the disposal of the team entitled to the throw-in. And we talked about that in terms of it either being in possession or being at their feet and they're not picking it up. That's when the throw-in starts and you're starting your 5-second count. Ball must be released within 5 seconds, not touched in inbounds, but just released within 5 seconds. And the throw-in ends when the ball's touched by a player inbounds or out of bounds, or the throw-in team commits a violation. And that point is important for things like changing of the AP arrow, right? So the AP arrow changes when the throw-in ends. And if there's a throw-in and then there's a foul before the throw-in ends, the AP arrow stays the same, regardless of whether the foul was on the defensive team or the offensive team. So that's kind of what's important in terms of why we need to know when the throw-in ends. And then opponents of the thrower should not penetrate the throw-in boundary plane until the ball is released. The penalty is a delay of game warning the first time you do it, and the second time it's a technical foul. Okay, here's an interesting thing, which you will see in your first few years of games. When the wrong team is awarded the ball, the error must be corrected before the throw-in ends. So you're coming out of a timeout, you're walking over to put the ball in play. The wrong team comes over to take the ball in play. You're kind of daydreaming because it's been a minute now since you've been playing basketball and you kind of forgot what team's supposed to be going in. And, you know, the black team is supposed to put the ball in play and the white team puts the ball in play. Once that ball is in play, has been touched in the, you know, once the throw in has ended, you're not able to correct that error. Even though everybody in the gym says, wait a minute, it was the other team's ball. Now, I will tell you that that's what the rule is, but I will also tell you that when you're refereeing your, you know, 5th grade CYO game or your, you know, 6th grade junior high JV game or something, and that occurs, my recommendation would be to blow the ball dead and give it to the right team, irrespective of the fact that that's not what the rule is. Once you start getting to do, you know, high school games or obviously anything further than that, just be aware that that's what the rule is. Everybody got that? Good with that? And then we have a process called resumption of play. Yeah, man. So if a thrower is not available after a timeout or an intermission between quarters, we sound the whistle to indicate that play is about to resume. We put the ball in, give the ball to the team A if they're ready and they're on the floor and the defensive team just isn't on the floor. That obviously makes the defensive team scramble and get on the floor. And then we begin our throw and count, and if a violation occurs, we repeat the procedure for team B. So if team A is not out on the floor and it's team A's ball, we put the ball down on the floor, we start to count to 5. And if we get to 5, it's a violation and the team B gets the ball. It's a good tool to hustle people out of their timeouts. It's generally a bad idea to kind of get to 5. You know, you're working to get the teams out of their timeouts. If you put the ball on the floor to get them to hustle a little bit along the line, hopefully your 5-second count is a very slow 5-second count. They run, they get the ball, they throw it in play, and off you go. And then technical fouls. If you literally give it to team A and they never throw the ball in, and you give it to team B and they never throw the ball in, then this technical fouls for further delays. Have never seen it. All right, couple of quick clips. These clips are embedded in this PowerPoint, so I'm not sure I can go back and forth like I have in previous ones. So let's just be careful here. This is, I believe, where we're putting the ball in play. Okay, this is them switching.
All right, on this play, the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline that belongs to the lead official. It's a sideline throw-in. The lead is responsible for the throw-in.
Whoop. Hang on. So watch the lead official a little bit here and critique for me a little bit, if you can, what he has or hasn't done well. If I can stop making this thing. Come on.
He's not even with the line.
You don't think he had a good view? Well, you can't get all the way to the sideline, right? I mean, what they're going to ask you to do is to get maybe as wide as the 3-point line. And the ball was on the other side of the floor when that pass came from there. So that's hard. He's not in a terrible position there. The one thing he needs to do is kind of immediately put his hand up in the air and blow the ball dead. And then he's looking at his partner to help him a little bit with who the ball went out on. And you don't have to look at your partner and kind of be silent. There's no problem with, yelling out to him, help or partner or something, and let your partner kind of make the call. It actually makes you as a crew look good that you're working together to make the proper call and in the proper direction. So just kind of look at him as he's doing this here. There he goes. Didn't get his hand up to stop play, but he did put the ball in the right direction.
All right, on this play, the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline that belongs to the lead official. It's a sideline throw-in.
Arm should be up.
The lead is responsible for
I was
the
looking
throw-in.
at his partner. Do I
If
got
the
this
throw-in
right?
was
Partner
below the
doesn't
free
give him
throw
all that
line
much help.
extended, the lead could bounce the ball to the thrower. But the official's manual specifically states that in this instance, the lead official becomes the trail official and administers the sideline throw-in. Again, the critical principle here is the boxing in principle. Watch how the officials move around the players with all players in view between them. That's the key component.
Okay. Now here's a ball brought in, I believe, in the wrong spot for the throw-in.
Turnover on the Coyotes.
Trails on that side, or does he run across the court?
So Trojans are going to inbound.
Sorry, what was that?
Does the trail stay on that side, or does he run across the court after he inbounds the ball?
No, because where they were set up, the lead here is going to move over and take possession of the ball on the sideline in front of the white bench. The trail's going to move down to the baseline, to the end line, and now they've got the players boxed in again. So the lead's going to stay on that sideline next to the benches, and the trail's going to stay on the other side of the floor. That make sense? Did I lose you?
It looks like so the ball's staying on that side of the court, right?
Absolutely. The ball's going to be put in play right here on the sideline, right next to the bench.
Okay. So it looks like they're trading roles. One's now the lead,
the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline.
Correct.
Okay.
But they're not going to. The lead's not going to come. The new lead, the older guy, is not going to come over and then
the lead is responsible for the throw-in.
They're going to stay.
If the throw-in was below the free throw line extended,
they are
the
at
lead
right
could
now.
bounce the ball to the thrower.
It just comes up.
But the official's
Trail
manual
comes up.
specifically
Lead comes up to the new
states
trail,
in
and the
this
trail goes down to be the
instance,
new lead. But they're just
the
going to
lead
stay on
official
the same
becomes
side
the
of the floor
trail
that they're at
official
right now.
and administers the sideline throw-in. Again, the critical principle here is the boxing in principle. Watch how the officials move around the players with all players in view between them. That's the key component.
And you wouldn't want the lead to go over the other side of the floor because now you got both officials on one side of the floor.
Got it.
Turnover on the Coyotes. So Trojans are going to inbound against the press. They get it into O'Gean. O'Gean's pass intended for Johnson's knocked out of bounds. It's going to go back to the Trojans as they're going to, well, now they're going to have to inbounds from closer to the corner of the court. Right off the baseline. They finally get it into O'Gean.
The ball goes out of bounds on C's sideline.
Don't worry about the fact that this is three-person. The concept's the same.
So that's where the ball should have been inbounded.
A1 stops and puts his hands up to receive the ball at the location where he is comfortable throwing the ball in at. Teams practice inbounding the ball at this spot. On this throw-in, the correct location is on the sideline. If A1 is not at the correct throw-in spot, Team A may gain an advantage or be put at a disadvantage during the throw-in.
Yep.
19-7 in regards to team control during a throw-in. Here we've got a throw-in by Team A. Also, a foul committed by Team A during the throw-in. The change this year to the rule,
which was
clearly
like
states
7 or 8 years ago. So don't worry
a
about
team
that.
control foul is a common foul committed by a team that has team control, including a member of the throw-in team, from the start of the throw-in until player control is obtained in bounds. So with the editorial change now on a team control foul, the rule now clearly states that team control includes a member of the
So on that play, the team throwing the ball in, a player on the floor committed a foul, and the official granted because they were in the bonus, the official gave the other team a bonus, the bonus free throws, when in fact all that should have happened was that team should have been awarded the ball out of bounds because there was team control in the front court with on the throw-in. Does everybody understand that?
No, could you state that again, please?
Yeah, we can run it one more time.
So because the inbounder had control of the ball, that's considered team control?
Yep, right. The definition of player control is holding or dribbling a live basketball. And so when you're the thrower and the ball is given to you, it's made available to you, you are now, that ball is now alive. So when the ball, that player on that team commits a foul, it's a team control foul, and there shouldn't be any free throws. That's
19-7 in regards to team control during a throw-in.
Like if it was
we've got a throw-in by Team A.
it would be the same thing. It would
Also,
be
a foul committed by Team A during the throw-in.
It's as if you were on the floor.
The change this year
team
to the rule
made a foul.
Clearly states
the blue
a team control foul is a common foul committed by a team that has team control, including a member of the throw-in team, from the start of the throw-in until player control is obtained in bounds. So with the editorial change now on a team control foul, the rule now clearly states that team control includes a member of the throw-in team from the start of the throw-in until player control is obtained in bounds. So on this play, once the throw-in team has obtained control from the official, any foul committed by Team A is a team control foul. The result of this would be a non-shooting foul if we're in the bonus. In this situation, there was a bonus. We should not have shot because of this rule.
And this is a throw-in, and as to whether or not there's an over and back violation, a backcourt violation here. So, any violation there? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he left his feet in the front court and caught the ball before
landing in the back.
He established backcourt. So technically he was still in the front court, landed in the backcourt. So yes, I think that is I probably wouldn't have called it because it happened so fast, but I think technically that is a over and back.
Anybody else think that or not think that?
Isn't it all three elements have to be to establish, right? Both the feet and the ball. Both feet and the ball. That's the definition of.
That's only dribbling, right? So that's only dribbling from back court to front court.
He touched it. It's where he touched it.
So he's up in the air when he caught it, right? And normally that means your status is where you were last on the ground.
So if he was in the front, yeah, if he was in the
last
front
on the
court.
ground in the front court, he jumped up in the air and caught it. So normally that's your status, and then he landed in the back court.
Yep.
So if that
in
was
all
on a
three.
pass that occurred inbounds, that would be a backcourt violation, right? A teammate passed you the ball, you jumped up in the air, you were in the front court, you jumped up in the air, you caught it, you landed in the backcourt. That would be over and back.
But if he hadn't landed, but the ball alone was dribbled in that backcourt, that wouldn't be backcourt, right? So he's before the line, he sort of catches it, lands at the line, but the ball he dribbles once on the other side. That would not be backcourt yet, right?
No, if the ball is already in the front court, the ball's already got front court status. You're getting confused, Andrew, with the ball that's in the backcourt. In order for it to get to front court status, you got to have both feet in the ball in the front court.
Okay, thank you.
Ball's already in the front court. So here, there's a throw-in exception. So when you're throwing the ball in from out of bounds, there needs to be team control in the front court before there can be a backcourt violation. So here, you can jump, you can jump in the air, you can catch the ball, you can land with one foot in the front court and then the other foot in the back court, or you can land with both feet in the back court, and it's not an over and back. It's just an exception to the rule.
Oh, okay, so not an over and back. Okay.
It's not an over and back because it occurred on a throw-in. If it occurred on a normal pass where the ball was already in play and your teammate was passing it to you and that teammate was already in bounds, then that in fact would be an over and back.
Okay.
The joys of the rules of basketball.
Even if it's on the side?
Even if it's on the side. I'm not sure. What does that mean?
If you throw it in from the side. He's on
Yeah,
the
whether you
baseline.
throw it in from the sideline or you throw it in from the end line, it doesn't matter. If it's on a throw-in and the ball and you throw the ball in and the player jumps up in the air, catches the ball in the air, they can land with one foot in the front court and then one foot in the back court, or they can land with both feet in the back court and it's not considered over and back. It'll come to you over time, promise.
Clear as mud.
Promise, it'll come to you over time. And this is going to show something similar where there's going to be, I believe, a muffed catch and the ball ends up in the backcourt. Oh, actually, the exact same play, right? So they jumped up in the air, caught the ball, landed on the line.
So that's okay. That's not a violation.
Same thing. It's for the same reason.
Because it's a throw-in, yeah.
Because it's a throw-in. He could have also had the throw-in happen where the ball, and I think we showed this in one of the other weeks on the clip. The throw-in happens, the ball gets touched by the player inbounds, but not controlled, and then rolls into the backcourt, and they pick it up in the backcourt. That's legal as well, because they didn't have control in the front court. I got to keep going. This may actually be exactly that play.
And repeat for coach and stakeholders of your games.
Here we go.
Muffed it, went back and got it.
So on our throw-in, we know that the team control exists only for the purpose of administering fouls. And as 11 dark, it grabs the ball. He does not get control, so we do not have player control in the front court. And prior to having team control in the front court, you must have player control. And at no time does 11 in the dark jersey get control of the ball on the tap. He's going to hit it in the backcourt, and this play, him retrieving it, is totally legal, and we should play on. You must have player control in the front court in order to have team control in the front court. And the next play we have.
Okay.
So that was the wrong call, in other words.
That was the wrong call.
Okay.
All right, we're going to quickly blow through Rule 8. There's not a lot going on in Rule 8. Free throw administration, which you've probably done. You know, the official at the end line is making the ball available to the thrower by bounce. Thrower has 10 seconds to release the ball for a try. First marked space has to be occupied by opponents of the thrower. second marked space may be occupied by teammates of the thrower. And then a maximum of 4 opponents and 2 teammates of the thrower allowed in the lane spaces. The key here is like if nobody from the throwers team, from the offensive team wants to be in the lane, the 4 players, the 4 opposition players can be in the front 4 spaces or the first 2 and the third 2. They can be in any of those spaces. Then those second marked lane spaces are not reserved for the throwers teammates if they don't want them. And that's what this says. Player may move to and occupy a vacant marked lane space if prior to the ball being made available to the thrower. And then everybody else needs to be behind the free throw line extended and the 3-point line. But free throws for personal fouls attempted by the offended player, that makes sense. I got fouled, I shoot the free throws. If that player is unable to shoot, then the substitute selected by his team shall shoot the free throws. It's not the other coach picking the worst player on the bench to be able to shoot the free throws. You're able to substitute whoever you want to be able to shoot the free throws. Free throws for technical fouls can be attempted by any player or eligible substitute. So you can bring somebody in to shoot the free throws. I think we talked about this last week. And what I didn't do here is, so for intentional fouls, and maybe I could just do this in the first bullet point, intentional fouls are shot by the person who's been fouled as well. So while technical fouls, anybody can shoot, intentional fouls, it's the player who's been fouled who shoots the free throws. So this says we see free throws multiple times every game. So why are we surprised by certain violations?
11 at the line, attempting a free throw when white 20 in the bottom lane space makes a hard box out into his opponent in an effort to obtain a good rebounding position. When we zoom in closer, we see that before the ball is released, white 20 breaks the plane of the lane boundary, causing a free throw lane violation. But then he continues on, swinging his elbow and contacting his opponent, causing a foul. So how is this situation handled? With a violation followed by a foul. First, you need to determine the order of when each action occurred. Since the violation by an opponent occurred first, a delayed violation is ruled, and the ball remains live to allow the free thrower to continue the free throw attempt. However, when the foul happens, the whistle must be blown and a determination must be made as to whether the act of shooting had begun. In this clip, the free thrower had started his shooting motion, so, according to the continuous motion rule, the goal would count if the try was successful. If the ball doesn't go in, like this clip, the penalties must be administered in the order in which they occurred. Start by clearing the lane and awarding a substitute free throw. Next, the ball will be given to the offended team at the spot of the foul, unless the bonus is in effect, which would result in the appropriate number of free throws. Remember, when multiple penalties must be assessed, we should always administer them in the order each action occurred. Let's watch that one last time.
They don't run the clip far enough to see if they actually administered it correctly, but you would basically clear the lane, let that first kid finish with his free throws, and then you would award the free throws for the next or you, if the ball's out of bounds, depends if this is in the bonus situation, but then you would award whatever consequence of the second foul would be at that point in time.
In our next clip, as the free throw shooter is attempting his free throws, it appears that both black 20 and white 22 step into the lane before the ball is released, creating a double violation. Let's examine a little closer. Before the ball is released by the free throw shooter, white 22 indeed steps on the line, followed by black 20 stepping into the lane. However, the rules state quite clearly, Unless the violations happen simultaneously, only the first player to violate is penalized, regardless of how many players may step in afterwards. And therefore, in this play, since white 22 steps out of his marked lane space first, play is whistled dead and all other activity is ignored. Let's watch that one more time.
So right then, ball is dead. Free throw doesn't count. If there's not a second free throw, you're awarding the ball to black out of bounds. If there is a second free throw, he gets a second free throw.
Wait, he gets a second free throw?
Violation.
If he has a second one coming to him, but that free throw is over.
Yeah, okay.
Make it a violation for an opponent of the thrower to enter the semicircle, and a foul for them to contact the thrower if it is more than incidental contact.
And no call here
prior
by
to
any
the ball
official
hitting
as
the
she gets
basket
buried
or
all the way out to
backboard.
midcourt somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's look at
What is the foul? What is that
a
called?
violation.
Is that illegal contact or?
What is the foul? It's displacement. It's illegal contact. You can take push, illegal contact, whatever you'd like there.
Yeah.
Block.
Make it a violation for an opponent of the thrower to enter the semicircle, and a foul.
So that
for them to
violation that
contact
happens
the
right
thrower.
there by entering the semicircle, that would allow her to get another free throw because that free throw, there was a violation there. And then
Our judge have her hand up or
and
his hand up.
That he has his hand up to mark when the clock is supposed to start. He's not calling a violation or a foul there. They actually called nothing on this play. Nobody's actually watching the shooter, which is in three person is the responsibility of the C, the guy who has his hand up, and in two person is responsibility of the trail.
Make it a violation for an opponent of the thrower to enter the semicircle, and a foul for them to contact the thrower if it is more than incidental contact prior to the ball hitting the basket or backboard. All right, let's look at a couple of examples. First off, positioning where to stand as the C or as trail in two person. The mechanics manual says halfway between the nearer lane line and the sideline. So we'd want to be about here, and we want to be just behind the free throw line. So possibly right about here on the court would be a good spot. We're responsible for these two players on the lane and the thrower. In two person, we're responsible as well for players violating beyond the arc. So we want to position ourselves so that we can certainly see these three players to detect if they violate or not. And usually that's going to have to be up a step. I personally like to stand right about here, right about here. It's a good place to start. All right. Official properly has a silent count, but you see when the ball is released, raises the hand and turns the shoulders, right? Immediately blocking view of these players here. We're now going to have to ensure that we open up our shoulders and our body and officiate any players coming in who may violate the semicircle. Another example. Now this official has a
Whoop. Okay, guess we're not going to do it. All right. End of session there. End of that. Anybody got any additional questions?
Yeah, sorry, but can you tell me about you give them the ball on the sideline and then there's no traveling, but like they have a pivot foot. How do you do that?
Out of bounds. So there's no such thing as traveling on an out of bounds play. There's no pivot feet. There's no nothing. We talk about the designated spot, and the designated spot is this 3-foot box that has no limit to its depth. A player can go back as far as they want. And then they need to stay within the 3-foot box by having at least 1 foot on or over the box, the end line. So they can kind of move a step or two to the left as long as that foot stays over the box. They can move a step or two to the right as long as that foot stays over the box. And they can go backwards as far as they can go.
Okay.
No
And
such
then they start moving too far and it's just illegal procedure.
Well, yeah, it's right. It's a throw-in violation is what it is.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so I know that Stacy sent around an email today. She's trying to set up some more scrimmages for you all to work on. She's going to get you trained in terms of getting into our arbiter system that will get you assigned games. And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get you out on the floor here into real games come early March. I think there's going to be a need to complete the test. You might not need to do it until the fall. I'm not positive. I'm not sure if it applies for the school leagues that are happening in the spring. Keep working on the quizzes, those of you that haven't been able to get to them. If you've got questions on rules, if you've got questions on positioning, you know, Kelly's around, I'm around, Stacy's around. Reach out to any of us. We'd love to get you out on the floor. We'll try to work with you. So I know Stacy and Kelly and I will all try to get out there with you if we can in the next month or so. Our seasons are kind of ending this weekend and next weekend. The state tournament's next weekend. So thanks for coming out. We need you. Hopefully it'll turn out to be an advocation that you get more and more interested in. And once you do, it becomes, you know, it becomes a bug. It won't be for everybody, but if it is for you all, great. So thanks. If you guys don't have any other questions, we're finished.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Can't wait for all the criticism on the court.
Nice.
All the videos reviewing what we've done wrong.